All right, call the Osseo City Council regular meeting to order here for Monday, April 28th at 7 p.m. Roll call. Looks like we have all members with us this evening. Please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, thank you. Look for a motion to approve tonight's agenda.
So moved.
I got a motion by Councilmember Schultz to approve tonight's agenda. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilmember Cook. Any additional discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes 4-0. All right, number 5, consent agenda. Any questions on that? If not, we look for a motion.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
I'd like to remove 5L for clarification and dialogue.
Okay, but leave it in the consent agenda items?
Move it off there to be considered separately.
Okay, but still, you're not moving it later in the meeting or
Nope.
anything? Okay. Okay. Would you like to make a motion?
Yeah, make a motion to approve the consent agenda items A through M with the exception of L.
Okay, we got a motion by Councilmember Schultz to approve the consent agenda minus letter L for further discussion. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilmember Cook. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay, now go ahead with your questions on letter L.
So sure, let me get to that part on here. So as I was reading through the packet for this, I had a couple of questions, and it's kind of going back to, well, first of all, it's in the summary, begin with, it says, under use of a city vehicle, it says the city will reimburse Wall-Bill for mileage related to vehicle use during snow events. If he has our vehicle, what do we have to reimburse him for?
Mayor, council members, Councilmember Schultz, that was the way that we talked about it and read it, was that if his vehicle was not available, if he was called in during a snow event, we would reimburse him mileage since we were supposed to supply him with a vehicle.
Okay. Then I have another question as well. It'd be down on, where is it here? Let me find where it is. I'll get to my comments here. So also, since we're trying to rectify this part of the contract, there's a part of the contract down here would be, and there's two contracts that look pretty similar, but one of the areas that I found that was, since we're clearing this up, is that in the contract, the second one, it specifically references that if Mr. Wald-Billig chooses not to use the city's health insurance, that he's going to be reimbursed at $800. I believe we changed that for all people. And since this is a contract, with contracted employees, they have things that have been negotiated that are different from everybody else. So I'm wondering if we're going through to look at adding that back in, if we should really look at that aspect of it as well to make sure that the contract's fully there. And if we all agree to that we should look at that, then I think we also need to look at all the other contracts that we have to make sure that that carries into their contract versus just straight city policy, just for clarity. Is that necessary, Mary, or?
Mayor, Councilmember Schultz, I mean, if the council thinks that there's inconsistencies in employment contracts with not only this employee but others, then we should review that if the council wants to make sure that they're consistent with
Because
updates.
it says, and would that cover us, should the amount of the monthly stipend in lieu of insurance change equal to or greater than $800 per month, the city shall pay the monthly amount if he elects to receive said payment. Does that cover us in that case? Or does that need to be changed?
Oh, right. Mayor, thank you for pointing that out. I mean, I do think that if it changes this, the way it's written would cover you.
Okay. Even though it states that, so that wouldn't need to be changed?
And I don't know whether all the other contracts have that same
Yeah.
language, or if it'd just be easier just to amend them all.
I think the way this is written now is that if that amount changes, then the city will pay that, the additional amount.
Okay.
The way the contract is currently reads. And I believe, and maybe the city administrator can correct me if I'm wrong, that other employment contracts are written the same way, I believe.
Yeah, I would have to take a look, but we will look them over and to make
Right.
sure they're written. These are fairly cookie cutter with all of us.
Yep.
There's little differences, but not much.
Yeah.
And so I think that if we're covered in this one, we should be covered in all, but I will make sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
And
just
if
want
it
to make
needs
sure
to
the
come-
language
yep.
appears in all the other contracted
Yeah, to
employees.
make sure they're
And
getting
if
what
not,
they
we just
want.
got to bring them back for us to
Yep.
either include that language or whatever.
And we will do that.
Okay. If anybody else have any questions or comments regarding that? So I'll make a motion to approve this agenda item with the revisions as asked for by staff.
Okay, I've got a motion by Councilmember Schultz to approve the updated language to the Public Works Director's employment contract. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilmember Torres. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes 4-0. All right, next is matters from the floor. Any wishing to speak, please step forward, state your name, and address the council on any matter you would like.
Good evening. Again, my name is Rick Escala. I was here 2 weeks ago when the council considered the revocation of the CUP for 337 County Road 81. I'm here tonight to again address the council. I understand that there's been a resolution drafted by staff that the council will vote on for final approval of that resolution. I'm here to respectfully ask respectfully ask the council to consider not voting in favor of that resolution. I am, again, want to point out that my clients really want to make an effort, have made an effort to make this a good situation for them. As I understand it, and as Councilmember Torres pointed out last time, this is largely about parking, which, again, it's significant, but yet it seems a bit harsh to revoke someone of the CUP and put a small business out of business. I think the city should promote small business. And I think that to treat the McCona business as to revoke its CUP would be somewhat harsh. I understand that the parking is a concern. He's indicated he's working on it. He's cleaned up the premises since then. And I would ask the council again to reconsider that, not to approve that resolution. I also have been told that there may be an element of harassment in this case, and I say that I don't say that very lightly. And I was told initially when they first moved in that within a day or two, the business to the north, the person who owned it came over and indicated to them that you don't belong here. After the last meeting, the gentleman I think who testified on the property to the south, he came over and said, "You guys just should get out." They don't feel very welcome based upon that. They think that it has played a part in what's gone on in this case. That's not to justify the issues they've had with parking. I've talked to them about that, and I hope they will rectify that. But I would, again, sincerely respectfully request that the council would reconsider revoking their license, because you're putting a good man out of business. It's a small business, and I think the city should promote small businesses and not be in a position where people are indicating that you're pushing business out of town. And certainly, again, I respectfully request that you would reconsider approving that resolution. And I'd be happy to take any questions if anyone has any. I know that's going to take place later on in the agenda, but I wanted to at least address the council at this time.
Attorney? Okay. All right, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
I'm here to talk about the same situation. So I know on April 8th, there was another citation put in place. Well, it hasn't gone in court yet, so I guess you can't really use that against figuring out the resolution, because you got due process, the 14th Amendment. In addition, I've been there on and off for the last couple weeks, and I know they've asked for the CUP to be adjusted for more cars. They see the neighbor, 20 plus vehicles. It's hard to say, well, why can you do that and I can't? I get CUP is the CUP. Maybe instead of approving the resolution, push it off 6 months or until another issue arises. My suggestion. Thank you.
One more thing I wanted to add. I'm glad the gentleman brought that up. The April 8th violation, my understanding when talking to my clients was there was apparently there was a 13th vehicle, which was a motorcycle. One of his employees had left a motorcycle there, and that's what happened. And so I guess technically that would be a violation, but certainly it was inadvertent and nothing that my clients had any control over. So I just wanted to point that out. I understand that came up after the last thing, before the last meeting, but after the last thing going on, and it was obviously a mistake, and it was inadvertent, and I just wanted to point that out so that the council understands what happened on that April 8th situation. So thank you.
Good evening, Mayor Poppy, members of the City Council. My name's Sloan Walgren, 505 2nd Avenue Northeast. I'm not here to talk about CUP permits, but first off, I want to thank you guys for everything you do. I know it's a low-paying job, a lot of hours, and not always all the thanks you guys deserve, so I just want to thank you. I appreciate that. I don't come here very often, so I'm going to knock a couple things out of the park while I'm up here. Number one, I think the city should consider putting in some pickleball courts at Sipes Park. I've worked in the recreation industry my entire career. Busy parks are safe parks. Busy parks also, the properties around there hold their property values, so the courts up there are getting very, very not pleasant. I think if we convert them to pickleball courts, you would see a lot of people there using them all hours of the day that are set by the city. Number two, I think that the vacant seat, the city council should think about filling that. I do think that the residents of Osseo and the businesses would be best served with five members of the council. I think that there's a lot of work to do, and I know that spreading that amongst the 5 of you would be much better, I think, than going on with 4 for the next almost 2 years. I believe it's when her next appointment or the next election is. And finally, I wanted to just touch real quick about the alley projects coming up. I know there's a hearing, I guess, in 2 weeks. I'm not sure if I'm gonna be able to make it here for that. I'm just a little concerned though about the numbers that were out there. I know we received preliminary assessment numbers of, for my alley and my neighbor's alley, was like $6,000 to $7,000, and now I believe the numbers coming in are about 30 to 45% more than that. I believe they're going to come in. I think the letters are going to come out later this week. But they're going to be about $8,700 per house. And I'm just concerned that the last 3 alley projects the city did, we assessed per alley, not just one general blanket assessment fee. I know that was proposed by the city council back in March of 24, when 2 of you were on the council at that time, but the other 3 were not. There was 3 people on the council at that time that were not here currently, and I think that it was their desire, if they saw the fees go above $7,000, that they wanted to use some city money to offset that. Now, I know it's not easy to hear, but I do know they were very concerned about assessments going above $7,000. So when we hear that they're going to be $8,700, that just raises a lot of flags for people. And I'm sure there'll be a lot of people here in 2 weeks to talk to you guys and address that. But my concern also is that the $8,700, I don't know if our properties are going to receive that benefit. I believe my neighborhood, I think our lots are right now estimated at $60,000. So going from $60,000 to almost $69,000 just by resurfacing the alley, that I know a lot of us don't have access to, but we can if we reconfigure our property, that we could have access to that. But I think when this original project started back in 2012 or 2013, the alleys were much more affordable. At even 7 years ago when we did them in 2018, they were, I think the cost of property owners $3,500, and now it's 2.5 times that price. So I just would like the council to consider that moving forward, and to potentially, if we are going to receive that much of a benefit to our property, maybe we should have some type of a real estate professional come in to look at those to make sure that if you're going to assess us $8,700, let's make sure that the residents are going to receive that benefit. If we're not going to receive that benefit, I don't know how the council could assess us that amount. I know I can appeal these decisions up until the 14th of May, or I can object to them. but I just wanted you guys to think about that over the next 2 weeks because I don't know how we come about saying that your property is gonna benefit $8,700 if a professional hasn't said it will. WSB's job is to, design the project, put it out for bid, and do all these things, but I don't know if it's really their job to say how much a residential property is gonna benefit from a project like that. I think that's what a real estate professional needs to do. And my last time I've talked to WSB and watching previous city council meetings from past projects, I don't believe they ever had a real estate professional come in to see if the assessed value would be achieved from the project. So thank you for your time. I appreciate it very much.
You. Any other matters to the floor?
Mr. Mayor?
Yep.
I apologize. This is kind of strange, but I'm wondering, because the spring kickoff car show guys don't there's not an opening for them to
Yeah.
talk. Would that be okay if they just,
Yeah, no, that's. hoping
if they
would come
talk
up.
right now,
Yeah,
if that's okay?
yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, no, I was hoping they were.
I had cataract surgery a couple years ago. I can't read either sign, so thank you. Hi, I'm Dick Leininger. I'm a member of the Minnesota Triumph Sports Car Club. I'm also the chairman of the Intermark Annual Spring Kickoff Car Show. It's foreign cars only and motorcycles. And this is our 13th year in Osseo. And we place our cars along Central Avenue diagonally from, I don't know, both sides of the street. I don't remember the numbers of the street, but we collect non-perishable foods and toiletries for cross industries. And those Girl Scouts sell tickets to select the best People's Choice Award for the cars, and they get to keep the profits. They use the funds to go on annual trips someplace. So we're providing for the community in both places. We've had 250 to 300 cars. Our featured car this year is a Saab, and we'll have a speaker in the community room talking about racing Saabs. We'll also have valve cover racing in the front yard of the city hall. You'll enjoy kids putting together, and adults, putting together a valve cover with wheels on them. And I guess that's it. Have any questions?
It's a great event. We
I
appreciate it.
provided a site map for you, and also a poster, and also the route map to show people how to get into the car show. So we thank you very much for your support.
Yeah, thank you. It's a great event. You guys do a great job. Any other matters to the floor? Third time matters to the floor are now closed. Moving on. 7, special business. 7A, accept donations.
Mayor, Council, resolution accepting donation to City of Osseo. Whereas the Osseo City Council is generally authorized to accept contributions of real and personal property pursuant to Minnesota Statute Section 465.03. And whereas the council agrees that said donation would be of benefit to the citizens of Osseo. And whereas the following has proposed this contribution to the City of Osseo, and the donation be used for the specific purpose as indicated below. Duffy's Bar and Grill, $1,000 to the Osseo Police Department. That's to a donations fund. And Duffy's Bar and Grill, $1,000 to the Osseo Fire Department.
All right, thank you. Look for a motion to accept the donations. Is
So
read.
moved.
Can I get a motion by Councilmember Schultz to accept donations as read? Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilmember Cook. Any further discussion? Seeing none, Attorney Teachin, please.
Thank you, Mayor. This is resolution number 22. Councilmember Torres.
Aye.
Councilmember Schultz.
Aye.
Councilmember Cook.
Aye.
Mayor Poppy.
Aye, motion passes 4-0. All right, number 8, public hearings. 8A, Minnesota Department of Revenue revocation of liquor license.
Mayor, Council, Mila's Royal Bistro LLC, which was located at 204 Central Avenue, Suite A, had been operating at this location since 2023. Mila Kai, the owner, had applied for a liquor license, beer and wine, for the license period through June 30th, 2025. City clerk received 2 letters from the Minnesota Department of Revenue dated April 1st, 2025. Notice of license revocation letters state that the city had 10 days to notify the license holder by certified mail that their license may be revoked. Staff completed the certified mail notice requirement, included a copy of it here in your packet. Within 30 days, the city must revoke the license unless we have received a clearance certificate from the Department of Revenue, which we have not. So we're asking the council tonight to revoke the liquor license for Mila's Royal Bistro LLC.
Okay. So we'll need a motion to open the public hearing for the revocation.
So moved.
Okay. Councilmember Torres, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilmember Cook. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay, the public hearing on this matter is open now at 7:20. Is there anyone to address the council on the revocation of the liquor license?
I just have a quick question. Is it within 30 days from April 1st, or you have to wait 30 days to revoke? I just want to make sure we're doing it right. Within 30 days. Okay. I just didn't hear it.
Any other public comment on this issue? Okay, if not, we'd look for a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Okay, I got a motion by Councilmember Schultz to close the public hearing. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilmember Torres. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes 4-0. It is closed at 7:21. Okay. Next, we look for a motion for the revocation.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
make a motion to pass a resolution revoking Mila's Royal Bistro LLC municipal wine and strong beer and 3.2 on off-sale liquor license as a requirement of the Minnesota Department of Revenue.
I got a motion by Councilmember Torres to revoke the license per stated. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilmember Cook. Any further discussion? Seeing none, Attorney Teachin, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Resolution number 23. Councilmember Schultz?
Aye.
Councilmember Cook?
Aye.
Councilmember Torres?
Aye.
Mayor Poppy?
Aye, motion passes 4-0. All right, 9, old business. 9A, approve resolution for revocation of conditional use permit for 337 County Road 81.
Mayor and council, on April 14th, 2025, the Osseo City Council approved the revocation of a conditional use permit for 337 County Road 81. The council needs to adopt a resolution stating the conditional use permit is revoked. Then that resolution will then be filed with Hennepin County.
Okay. Questions, council? None? Would someone like to make a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I think there's some stuff up on the,
I'm just,
Okay.
does the council want me to go
Sure.
over the pictures? So these are some photos of Makona Auto on Friday, April 18th. And as we go through, you can go through the next photos. Those are a little harder to see, but there are many, many cars and people and things. So if you can go through the video, please. If you can play this. This is from my squad camera. And this is another violation of their CUP in many different ways that we can go over if you wish. So as we go through this, I'll kind of narrate a little bit, but as I come through, I can see all those cars parked on the service road. Those are all from Makona Auto. I then turn around and go past the cars, take a look at what's going on at that location. This is about 5 something in the evening when I was leaving for home, and I stopped and just took some of the photos that you saw. But you can see here's all the lines of cars that were parked on County Road 81. This is where everyone had been, complaining about all the cars parked there. So as I turn around, you can see this is some of the complaints that we heard anyway, was how the parking issue was down there. Again, those are legally parked cars. But it does show the congestion that's going on down in that area. And as I turn around, you can see I pull in to Makona, and that's when I start seeing a violation, so I investigate. As I can number the cars, there's a truck in the way. The CUP goes for business hours, not just after business hours. So it's all day, every day. And as I pull in, you can see all the cars that are parked along. There's more than 12 sitting there. As I go into the back, you can see it's full of cars. There's actual work going on in the back garage. I don't know if you can see it very well, but you can see the garage doors open and there's car work going on in that garage. That's not something that's been on the CUP to be able to do that. And as I'm sitting there, I back up. You can see to the right, there's that garbage trailer that's still sitting there with the 2 flat tires that hasn't moved. There's vehicles there, all stuffed in the back. Plenty over the 12 that are allowed, along with 6 customer parking stalls, which are not ID'd, which are supposed to be. And then there's 2 businesses operating, and then I heard a whistle, and you can see they shut that garage door as I was there. And then I just backed out to investigate all of those issues. So there's more issues there even after our last meeting, as far as violations of the CUP. And so I just wanted council to see that as they make their decision tonight.
Okay. Council questions?
Mr. Mayor,
Yeah.
so I think it's important to kind of make a point on the record, since there was some comments made during matters from the floor. I think it's important to note that I don't feel that council is treating this business any different than any other business. Rules are rules, and rules are made to be followed. And if you don't like the rules, that's fine. Come to council, come to whoever the rule maker is, and try to get the rules changed. But while the rules are in place, you need to follow the rules. I also want to make a clarification that this is not just about parking. As you can see from the video, we've got work going on that's not supposed to be going on. I'm specifically told don't be doing the painting and whatnot, and then when a police officer shows up, you close the door. If nothing, it's suspect. While there may have been claims of harassment, those harassment claims are not against the city. I think that should be very loud and clear. If you and anybody has a problem with their neighbors, there are civil processes to address that. So that is not a part of what I think comes into play as far as any decisions tonight. And I also want to be real clear that this body, at least myself, I can speak for myself, but I think I know everybody else up here well enough to know we're not anti-business. We're not anti-small business. We promote business. And if anything, rules that we have for businesses, and we even discussed some potential rules for other businesses earlier during the work session, these rules are there for a reason, and they're there to support businesses, and they're there to support good neighbors. So I just wanted to get those comments on the record in response to what I heard anyway during matters from the floor. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? I'd like to make a motion.
Mr. Mayor,
Yeah.
I'd like to make a motion for a resolution revoking conditional use permit for property located at 337 County Road 81.
Okay, I got a motion by Councilmember Torres for revocation of the CUP. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilmember Schultz. Any further discussion?
Mr. Mayor,
Yep.
so again, I want to be real clear. This is not picking on anybody. This is just a set of facts. The facts are, how many times are you going to get told stop doing something and then you keep doing it? How many times are you told to do something and then you don't do it? And I just want that to be real clear. And that's why I made the motion. If anybody wonders, Nick or Councilmember Torres was saying these things 2 weeks ago. What happened? Well, what happened is the rules were there. They weren't followed. At the end of the day, that's what this is all about. You got to follow the rules. That's it.
All right, Attorney Teachin.
Thank you, Mayor. This is resolution number 24. Councilmember Schultz.
Aye.
Councilmember Cook.
Aye.
Councilmember Torres.
Aye.
Mayor Poppy.
Aye, motion passes 4-0. All right. 9B, approve elected officials' rules and procedures and code of conduct.
Mayor, council, I'm going to turn this one over to Councilor Teachin.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. We discussed this document a couple of meetings ago, and there were a number of issues and questions within that I had raised that, as drafted, would be kind of a departure from current city council practice. So I prepared just a summary of those items and wanted to get some council input tonight, and we can just kind of go through these one by one if you wish, and I'd just like to get some council input on each of these so that we can revise the document accordingly and bring it back to council for adoption. So I can just go through them, or you can, or however you'd
no, I
like to
think so,
handle it.
yeah.
Okay. So in section 1.4, as drafted, this would require abstaining council members to be available from the podium only, which means that the council member who's abstaining would step away from the dais and move into the audience, basically. I know that's a practice that some city councils have. It's not required by law, but that would be something different than how the council has done that in the past. And so just looking for direction on whether the council wants to require something like that.
Mr. Mayor, do you know where in the document, the full document, that
Page
particular
116.
one? Is that paragraph 1?
It's on the bullet points.
Section 1.4.
1.4 bullet points near the, after that page.
Yeah, I'm just trying to organize what I wrote down here, so.
I have page 115 of the packet.
The actual bullet point is on 116.
116, yep.
So that's, and so my comment on that particular one is that I understand where that could come into play. I don't really have a firm position one way or the other on doing anything. I think it's important to understand as we go through this document today, a lot of these things are departures from what the council currently does. But I believe that one of the reasons this came is to add clarification to the different procedures and the ways that we run things. And so there's a lot of different ones that could potentially be changed as we go ahead with this. So I'm fine with that particular one.
Mr. Mayor.
Yep.
I don't see any need for it, to be perfectly honest. We've been through multiple meetings where people have abstained for whatever reason and have sat here.
Yep.
I don't. To me, it seems like a bigger disruption to have now that council member have to get up and go out there, and I just don't see a need for it. I don't think it's a necessary thing, in my opinion.
Mr. Mayor,
Yep.
I'm kind of the same. I mean, I'm not for or against it, but it just doesn't really make sense to me, like, why?
Yeah.
And if I can't answer the why, then I can't really support.
So would we say we're in consensus that
Remove that one.
remove that? We don't need to have that. Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Let's move to the next point.
Number 2, section 2.1, the council has not previously adopted time limits for matters from the floor. Wondering if that's something that the council would wish to do now.
Mr. Mayor.
Yep.
And this is going to come up a couple of times through this list
Right.
of time limits
Right.
during public hearings, during
Correct.
Things like that. I'll be very honest. I understand the justification behind it, trying to respect people's time, all of those things. I personally am generally not in favor of time limits. I think that there are situations that call for further expansion, that yes, you can organize your thoughts and put forth things in 4 minutes, but I think there are bigger issues that potentially could very reasonably require more time than that. I get a little bit nervous, and I know that I may be in the minority on this, but I just get a little bit nervous about anytime we start putting restrictions on sort of the free speech aspects of our meetings and putting time limits on that stuff. I think can do that. And that concerns me. So, in general, like I said, across the board, I'm just not a big believer in time limits when it comes to this stuff. I haven't seen in my time. Now I know it hasn't. I know it's happened because I've heard stories and things like that. I haven't seen it abused in a situation. If it's a situation where a person is speaking, on and on about something that's not, I think there are other parliamentary procedure ways we could probably handle that. But if it's irrelevant information, but that's just my opinion. So I just have never been a big fan of putting time limits on the open forum parts of a meeting. But
Mr. Mayor? Yep. So I would agree to the extent that I also don't like a chilling effect, and I think putting an actual number to it could create a chilling effect. But I also, at the same time, understand the need to put some guardrails up, because theoretically somebody could just hold the floor, just keep going on and on and on. I do agree. I think there are parliamentary procedure ways to do it. I would actually approach this, though, kind of the other way around. I would say I would be in favor of language that allows this body some discretion. So if we have a time limit and it says, okay, so matters of the floor, there's a limit of 3 minutes, but at the discretion of the council, that time could be extended. That's one option. But after hearing Councilmember Cook, bring up the parliamentary procedure, I mean, that's the whole point of Robert's Rules of Order, is to have that. So I guess, again, to me, it's not a number, but there's a point where, especially coming from me, you got to tell people to cut it. So with that, I'm going to cut it.
Mr. Mayor? So I think as part of this, and this one, as it says, there's time limits that come up throughout this. And part of the purpose of this is to help organize our meetings more, help our meetings flow better. And I think to Councilmember Torres's point regarding guardrails, I mean, really the discretion of how long people speak is really up to the mayor. And if we have this rule in here, we can still parliamentary procedure and try to get his attention. But I think it's important to give some parameters to everybody coming here out of respect for everybody that attends the meetings. Some of these conversations and dialogues go on way too long, and the reality of the situation is that while I'm not in favor of limiting public comment, 3 minutes is quite a bit of time, and the mayor can depart from that if he chooses to. But having a guideline in place here, I think, is very important for us to give some, as a council, give some expression of this is kind of what we're thinking, and to leave that particular part in there. I just think that it's, I mean, there's been meetings where matters on the floor has went on for in excess of, 7 to 10 minutes with a packed full of things. I can remember one meeting where there was a very emotionally charged meeting. It just kept escalating, and we had a whole room full of young Boy Scouts and Cub Scouts in the room. And I don't think that is really showing those future leaders that we are really taking our job very seriously here. So that's why I'm in favor of leaving that particular one in.
Mr. Mayor?
Yep.
If the language was changed to such that there was a 3-minute limit, I could be on board with 3-minute limit, but I would like it written in that there is a proviso for the speaker to at least be afforded the opportunity to ask to go past their 3 minutes. Because if they're not redundant and they're not wasting a bunch of time, I want to have that thing there that allows them to at least ask for the time. They can always be denied the time, and it's at our discretion. But I think that's a better rule than just flat out saying you get 3 minutes and that's it. And if you can't get your words together in 3 minutes, too bad. I would like to have at least some proviso in there. So I would be in support of that rule, 3 minutes, but working with our council, put some kind of language that allows for that.
Yeah, it's always been, if people come here and they take time to express how they feel, you'd hope that they could get it done in 3 minutes. I don't feel like it's been abused too much, but I mean, I would be fine with this is the guideline, but yet having the ability to, if it's not the same thing over, at some point we can cut it off,
Okay. Do you want to leave that up to the discretion of the mayor or a vote of the council?
I think it's always going to be up to the discretion of the mayor.
Okay.
Yep.
Is there, maybe this isn't the time or place to talk about this, but because I've often kind of wondered about this. When we do special business, we're swearing in a police officer, or we're recognizing a Eagle Scout project, or we're doing some of these things is what we do in special business. Does it make more sense for us to do special business before matters from the floor for that very reason of what you just talked about?
I mean, that would be an easy thing to fix. It's just a matter of structuring the agenda.
And so that's just an idea. It's just a thought. But
I
again,
like
I'm
the
going to go
idea.
on the record right now. I'm going to go on the record right now and say I'm not in favor of the time limits. I understand I'm one person. I don't think there's a need for it. I think it, but I mean, I understand everything that you guys are saying. I understand that people, need to come here and respect people's times. Maybe it's just the newness of me of not, having seen some of the things that you wily veterans have seen that I haven't. But, everybody that I've seen come to that microphone has come with a notepad of paper. They've clearly got their stuff organized. They talk. They move on.
Yeah, I would say the amount of time it's been abused is less than it has been abused. So that's why those few times I've allowed, that's kind of always been kind of the guideline. But
And that's why I don't know why we're putting something in if it's not really a problem. Why are we? I mean, I don't know. Maybe that's just. I don't. Maybe I'm looking at it the wrong way, and we should put it in before it becomes a problem. But it just, to me, it just doesn't seem. I think it comes. The perception of the way it comes off,
yeah,
I think, is kind of off-putting in the sense of, here is our time to freely as constituents come in and express our thoughts, but we got to do it in. I mean, are we going to start putting a 3-minute clock up on the screen that, for each speaker that they, who's going to clock it? Who's regulating it? Who's doing that? I mean, and then who's going to be the one that says, I mean, it would be you, obviously, that's going to say, okay, your 3 minutes is up, blah, 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 I don't know. That, to me, it seems very unnecessary. But that, again, that's just my thought.
So, Mr. Mayor,
yep,
totally recognize that, and it's a fair thought. Also understanding Councilmember Schultz's concern and the need to have some type of structure as far as, okay, does that mean putting a number to it? So, I think of other times where time limits are put in to things. You can think of appellate court. You get so much time to speak, and that's it. I also know that if you're running out of time, the red light comes on, you can ask for an extra minute. You can ask for an extra 2 minutes. And that's why I'd be interested to know, Councilmember Schultz, would you be amenable to language that would put the 3-minute time limit in, but again, allow for that person to say, look, I'm really close, I'm almost done, can I just have another minute, with the understanding that they'll get that minute?
I would.
yeah. And I'm not in a, I've never been a big, if you're going to say your piece, say your piece, and allow them to say their piece. And it's just, I would never want to put the time clock up and be like, you're done. Well, let's just try to, it's more of, let's try to keep it in this realm and, and not go on and on. Because we've had meetings in the past where we did the 3-minute clock and because it was a long meeting and a lot of comment. So then it comes up over and over and over, the same thing over and over and over again, so.
And Mayor, for what it's worth, I mean, most of the cities I work with do have some kind of guide,
Yeah.
3 minutes, but then the mayor will just say, you're getting close, try to wrap it up soon. It's not although I have worked with cities who do the time.
With the time
the
clock
timer.
going, and you see it tick down. I
But
have no interest in that.
for the most part, I think it tends to be pretty flexible, but it's more of a guide to keep things organized and have things moving along.
Yeah.
So
So I think to point out too, this is currently included in the document. So in order to remove it from the document, it would take a quorum of us to agree to remove it from the document.
Well, we just did that with number 1.
this hasn't been approved yet, so
No, I
I'm just
understand,
getting
but I'm
getting
just-
feedback.
Yeah, I'm just saying that I think that we should have a clear consensus one way or the other on this, and I'm kind of sensing that we're not going to have that.
Mr. Mayor, Councilmember Schultz, I'd like to take one last crack at something that may have consensus. So would Councilmember Cook be open to language that would state something to the effect of during periods of when the public is afforded to speak, for example, matters from the floor or at hearings, there will be a 3-minute time limit, comma, additional time may be requested and approved by the chair or by the mayor? Would that suffice, as long as, I mean, the whole purpose I see of putting this time limit in isn't to quell the speech, it's to let people know, kind of, you know, tonight's rule night, I guess. This is the rule. This is kind of, before you come here, try to get your words and your, you know, what you're going to say together and keep it within 3 minutes. And you kind of know that going in. And that way, it will also hopefully help people kind of put their thoughts together before they come in, right? And for the most part, they already do. But we're trying to get in front of a problem before it ever becomes a problem. Because it's, I think, a lot better that we're talking about this now rather than after some kind of incident happened and all of a sudden now we're talking about it, right? Mm-hmm. But I think there's a way of putting that notice out there that here's the amount of time you get. But there is some discretion within this rule. It's not a hard and fast rule. Yeah. Would Councilmember Cook consider that?
Oh, I like that better. You
Yeah.
know, that at least they have the ability to ask for more time, if needed.
So is there specific, sorry to interrupt, Mr. Mayor, is there a specific language you'd like to put in after that then that gets us where we want to go? Like just, because it says here, each speaker we ask to limit his or her comments to 3 minutes per the discretion of the mayor.
Yeah, that would be the additional, that would be in the rule.
It's the least complicating of this rule.
Right.
I would support that.
Say that again.
Just adding in, so we're on page 116. After the 3 minutes per, just put a comment step up here there, per the discretion of the mayor. It's always going to be that way anyways.
Yeah. Said if people want to talk, I think they have the right to speak their piece.
I believe that too. I believe that wholeheartedly. And if that's 4 minutes or 5 minutes or 3 minutes, I don't see the difference.
I think it accomplishes everybody's goal, just with that little extra language in there.
Mm-hmm.
The only, and just a caveat, something to think about is you don't always know who's going to be in that chair.
True.
And you could have somebody in that chair that all of a sudden is like, nope, it says 3 minutes. I'm holding everybody to 3 minutes. You know what I
And
mean?
that's their prerogative as the person managing the meeting.
And technically, they could do that irrespective. Even if we didn't have a time limit, it's at the discretion of the mayor. If anything, this guarantees 3 minutes. If you think of it, from that lens, right? Because right now, mayor can go, 1 minute, you're done. I'm running it. So this at least guarantees 3 minutes. So when we do these one at a time, do we don't motion for these?
Mayor, Council, I'm just taking feedback. I will draft revisions
Yeah.
that will come back to the council then for approval or further discussion.
this is
So
discussion,
tacitly, we
so-
agree then on this.
Sounds like there's consensus
Yeah.
on that.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Then moving on, section 2.3. My question was whether the council wanted to adopt a requirement that at least 4 hours notice be provided for an emergency meeting. However, when I went to that section, it looked like that had been taken out. The 4-hour requirement that I was asking about doesn't appear to be in this document anymore. So that's for emergency meetings. It now reads the council will be notified by telephone or other means, which I personally think is fine as far as notice goes. So I'm not sure where the 4-hour thing went. Maybe it just got deleted.
I support the language that's currently included in the document.
Yeah,
Okay,
Yeah, I would too.
Agree.
yeah. 'Cause, I mean, there's things that can come up and we,
okay.
And I think that bleeds right into the next one, which is 2.5, which is
Right.
the 4-hour cancellation. Do we need a 4-hour requirement in order to cancel a meeting?
I mean, the thing about it is sometimes within that 4 hours, there's been times where people have fallen ill and they can't make it, which then doesn't allow us to actually maintain a quorum at that point in time. Because that would be the only reason you'd really want to cancel a meeting is if a quorum's not present.
Or if you're going to have the storm of the century, which almost hit us tonight.
Yeah, surely.
So,
True, yep.
I don't, if we're not doing the 4-hour
Yeah.
emergency meeting, why are we doing the
Yeah.
4-hour?
Yeah, I would agree.
Say eliminate it.
Well, eliminate what? The whole thing?
4 hour.
Just
The 4-hour component.
Okay. Will be notified in writing or by telephone,
boom,
period. Because it is kind of covered if possible as well. So that is covered in that language. I mean, we could delete
Right.
it or leave it in, whatever you guys want to do. I mean, I think rather than redrafting that thing, I think that if possible covers our concerns. At least that's how I interpret it.
Just move the period over 6 words and.
So what are we in consensus on? Moving
We
the
don't
period,
need
or
the 4 hour.
We don't need the 4 hours.
We don't need
So period after telephone.
Okay.
Okay. Section 2.11, does the council wish to allow for a 10-minute recess at 9 PM during meetings?
So I want to go back to 2.7.
2.7.
Oh,
Which stuff on
Did I miss
2.7
one?
and 2.10?
So 2.7 has to do, with basically the retention policy that we don't have. I know that when the main switchover was done in our archiving and our retention of meetings, all the cities that were members of the CCX Media Joint Powers Agreement were asked to have a retention policy so that they know what to follow. And so I don't know whether this is the time now to look at the retention policy, but I think we do need to have something that's clear that says this, so that we can also avoid the accusation of arbitrary deletion of city meetings. So I don't know if 1 year makes more sense or 2 years or whatever, but we need to have up with something. And I think probably if we talk about this particular item here, that also could be viewed as us setting the retention policy through this document.
It would be. We would be setting the time the clerk has to keep the meetings.
So 1 year, it's a significant amount of time. It also, that also includes, since it's video content, physical resources that are available to us. I don't know whether 1 year is right or 2 years. I'm open to conversation either way. Either one, we do need to have something that talks about how long we're going to retain things, because we didn't, and then when they made the switch over, a lot of the old meetings disappeared. And so I think that we need to act on this particular one and just decide how long we want to keep them.
Mr. Mayor,
Yep.
so question for city attorney. I was actually kind of surprised that this wasn't something required, like under Government in the Sunshine or something like that. So I was just surprised that that wasn't like that. What do other cities do as far as retention policies?
It's all over the place.
Is it? It's all over?
well, there's a state retention schedule for most types of data that all cities follow. And my initial question in here was, I didn't know what that was, so it was just something I wanted to alert staff to check the general retention schedule. I think, was that Natalie who had checked on that? If there isn't anything in the general retention schedule, then the city can set it, set their own retention period for those videos. So I don't know the answer to your question, but I could check, but I assume that Natalie had already done that.
And I can just speak from, many of you may or may not know, I happen to be I think it's the president of the CCX Media Board, and all of the cities were asked to provide CCX Media with their retention policy. I think we're the only ones that didn't. So as long as it's not in conflict with state statute, I'm open to one. We really want to talk about, the concept of transparency and all the other kind of stuff, I could make a strong case to move it from 1 year. But I can understand where 1 year seems to make some sense.
Does it make sense to do some sort of and again, I don't know storage and all that kind of stuff, but because it says to the extent possible, all regular meetings, special council meetings shall be cablecast, webcast, video will be retained by city clerk for 1 year and available to the public for viewing. I'm assuming that's through the website that they would be available, or would they have to come in and make a records request that they would?
I'm not sure how we would give it out on a records request, because if you go to view past meetings, you get an automatic redirect to CCX has a specific Osseo page, and then that's where they hold all of our content. So technically, it's not really housed on our
So it's
website
really
so
dependent
much.
upon how long CCX keeps, though.
Well, CCX takes direction from us,
Okay.
how long will they keep it there?
Right.
So that's what we have to
That's what
determine.
we're.
So I know in the past, there have been like a number of years
Yeah.
backlogs of meetings, so I guess
I think we had
that's,
10 years at one point in time,
yeah.
Yeah.
which was a significant amount of resources. And I can just throw a curveball at this. If someone, for example, doesn't have internet access to view, our library is open all the time with internet access that anybody can come in and use that resource. We don't have to provide it, the library's providing it.
So, Councilman Schwartz, what do you think is a reasonable time period?
I'm letting that open to you guys. I mean, the document says 1 year. I could say if we want to really be like, I don't think 1 year is enough. We go to 2 years, whatever. We just got to make a decision. So
Yeah,
we're looking for you guys for guidance.
I don't know, I feel a little better on a 2 year. I don't like just 1 year.
I'm okay with that.
And
You're okay with
Councilmember
Because there's
Schultz.
things that carry over from year to year, and, is it a calendar year, is it a rolling 12-month? What's classified as 1 year?
My hope is it would be a rolling. You wouldn't just get to the end of the calendar year and delete all the meetings from the
right.
previous, like.
Yeah,
Mr. Mayor and Council, just some FYI is that, we do keep all the minutes and
Yeah.
people can review all of those, and we've got all the documentation and the packets, and we're keeping those for, whatever the state data retention, because really viewing is a luxury, I guess. We don't have to do that by law to have them viewed. So just to keep that in mind, if they want to keep them, that's fine. I understand where you're coming from. I'm just saying we're not required
Yep.
to videotape. We do have to keep notes by law, and we have to keep those on the books and make sure they're available, and we do. We have all of that. So
And
just
for
an
us-
FYI.
And for us to do that, it's a considerable expense that we pay from our cable fund revenues to CCX for that staff time. And that's the decision that we made a while ago, simply because we want to be transparent. We want that to be out there, be available. But to that point, we don't have to do that. I think we probably would have to keep audio recordings. And, just with some different stuff, who knows with the declining cable revenues, how long that's going to be available to us versus us having to take action and figure out a solution to our own. So I think that kind of helps a little bit. So I'm okay with 2 years. I agree with the mayor,
I think
2
2
years.
years is a good number.
All right. I'm okay with 2 as long as it's not a substantial difference between 1 and 2 as far as data storage costs. That was actually going to be my question. Is
They're set up. They're set up for it.
Yeah, I'm cool with 2.
Yep. All right.
Okay.
210?
Yeah, I think this has already been addressed
Okay.
and changed.
All right.
Section 2.11 was just, council
No.
may recess for a 10-minute break at 9 PM. That's just providing an option.
No,
It's not a requirement.
no,
So if you're okay with leaving that in, we can leave it in.
I don't think we need
I mean, if we're in a marathon meeting, we can always request a brief
Yeah.
recess.
You can request a
If our
recess
bladders
at
are
any
about to
time.
explode.
Yeah,
I mean,
or people leave and have
Right.
to do that during the meeting, so I don't think it needs to be in here, but,
So delete it.
yeah.
Okay.
and keeping with the kind of the theme there with the next one, 212
Yeah.
adjournment, we got business to take care of. If we don't take care of our business, it just moves on to the next one and to the next one. And there's going to be times where we're going to have to get through some of that stuff. So, I mean,
Yeah.
we don't usually have meetings that are that length, but they do happen
Yeah.
from time to time,
Yeah.
and I think that they're necessary.
Yeah, I think we delete that.
Just look at our last meeting.
Yeah,
It went past
Yeah,
10 p.m.
it happens, not often, but it
Yeah.
does
If
happen.
Honest Abe can do it, we can do it.
Right.
yeah. Okay.
Let's see, moving on to 3.3 regarding the consent agenda.
3.3.
This, right, requires that if a council member has a question on a consent agenda item, they are to ask staff ahead of time rather than having it pulled off for discussion during the meeting. It's drafted such that it's sort of a requirement that they
I-
do that.
I think the way we did it tonight is fine.
To add some additional delineation to that, there's a lot, when certain cities around us have like really long consent agendas, and to the point like we did right now, we kind of pull it off and go on it separately, they often add in a agenda item that says consideration of items pulled from consent agenda. So, yeah.
Mayor, Councilmember Schultz, I think what this is getting at is before the meeting.
Yeah,
I think this is saying that if one of you has a question about something on the consent agenda before the meeting itself, that you should reach out to staff before you consider pulling it from the agenda. You should first talk to staff.
I don't see anything wrong with that because it encourages us to not have some of the dramatics that have happened in the past.
Yeah.
So one thought I had, of course, this is purely a council decision, but you could just encourage council members to contact staff about consent agenda items that they have questions about before the meeting.
Yeah, I mean, that's
If you think that
typically
would-
what hopefully everyone's doing, but I mean, if we have to put it in here to, again, policy procedure, but you'd hope that a lot of the questions are asked prior to.
I like the idea of the encouragement
Yeah,
language. Doesn't seem quite as harsh.
yeah.
So how would you, so the encouragement language, would you want to then include this and change the language?
How would we
Any
do
council
that?
member
Can I
requesting to be
comment?
noticed having
Because I
Well,
believe in the
I
spirit
can
of
make the
this. I
drafts, revisions, and bring it back to council.
Right, so that's what I'm trying to do,
Right.
is to have us agree on language for you to
Yeah.
revise.
Because I agree. I mean, it's a matter of respect to
They-
staff, right?
So I would say in that second to last line where it says they are to ask staff, they are encouraged to
Correct.
ask staff.
Correct,
Yeah.
yes.
Because it also allows us, our staff, to be prepared to
Yeah.
answer some of those questions as well, which is so important because nothing worse for staff than people just, and and in the past, it's been for drama. And, it's
I
not
gotcha.
fair. Yeah, it's not fair. It's not fair to the staff to not be prepared with these questions.
Yep.
And that's really frustrating. And I've seen it happen at meeting after meeting
Yep.
here and everywhere else where they do that kind of stuff. I just don't think it's right. So with that, encourage rather than
Okay.
are, I think that ties that up.
Yeah.
Nice.
Okay.
You guys agree?
Yeah, because I mean,
Okay.
there's things that come up, like, that we want to talk about.
Sure. And just as an aside, I wanted to make a note that on your consent agenda, if you look at your written agenda, it says requires unanimous approval. I have been searching for this somewhere and cannot find where that's a requirement anywhere in your code. It's certainly not a legal requirement.
Just remove it.
So it's been a practice of yours for at least as long as I've been the city attorney. But it might make sense to actually put that in a policy if you want to keep that requirement.
So I think that it should stay there. And the reason I think it should stay there is that consent agenda items are supposed to be things that require minimal conversation. It's worked through. It's basically just a matter of housekeeping. And I don't think that putting it in or taking out really makes a lot of difference other than this is here. We have the chance to ask in advance. And I think it's just, boom, let's just do it and move on. So I think it makes sense to keep it, but I'm not steadfast on that.
I would, Mr. Mayor, I would actually agree with that because even prior to getting into government, I had assumed, rightly or wrongly, that the reason that was there was for the very reason that it comes across that there's nothing secret going on, right? And it requires everybody to be in agreement on it, so obviously everyone should have read what's there. So I actually like it being there myself for that reason.
Yep, go ahead.
And this is just, yes, I agree 100% with what you're saying. I'm just looking at in our agenda, on our things next to where it says approval of agenda above consent, it says require unanimous additions. But in here, in 3.2, approval of agenda, the mayor, council member, staff may propose additions, deletions, or changes to the agenda. A majority of vote of council is required to approve the agenda as proposed or amended.
That's additions.
Okay. Oh, there, it says additions to the agenda must be approved by unanimous vote. Okay, all right, I missed it. I apologize. No, I agree. I think consent agenda should be, require unanimous approval.
Okay.
Okay, I can add that.
Okay.
Moving on, I think we covered this as part of the time limits.
Yep.
I'm on number 8. I assume the same rationale
Yeah.
would apply for public hearings. Okay. Number 9, section 5.1. As drafted, this section will require the council to have a motion and a second on the floor before debate and discussion takes place. You know, I think that's can happen in different ways. Some councils follow a strict policy of motion and a second first, and then you do your discussion. Some councils have a lot of discussion first before they do a motion and a second.
Yeah.
I think either way is probably okay. But as drafted, this would, let me get to that section.
Yeah, no, I think, in my experience here, the discussion is productive before a motion gets done. Because through discussion, there could be other points of view or things that get ferreted out before you make a motion, and then that fails, and somebody's making a motion and fail, and I would rather have full discussion before that, and where you can kind of gain consensus through the discussion openly, I mean, so everybody sees kind of what's going on, and then make that motion, and then we move forward.
Yeah, I'm in line with that. I think it's much more productive. Like, that's how we're doing it now.
Yeah.
And I think you're absolutely right. It actually is easier to kind of get your thoughts together
Yeah.
than having to constantly rechange your mind about, okay, what did we just do? We did.
Yeah.
This is like the 5th time around.
Yeah.
So I agree.
I think we would have a situation where we would be either amending motions
Yeah.
and
Right.
or
Yeah.
failing and then reintroducing new motions with new verbiage.
Yeah.
And so I would like to see us keep it the way we currently do it.
Yeah.
So I would reword that to
Okay, will do. I think from a strict parliamentary procedure, it's accurate to have a motion first, but council can set its own procedure.
Yeah.
So you can depart from strict
Yeah.
rules of parliamentary procedure if you wish to,
Yeah, because I think once we introduce the item, it's presented,
right?
then I think we have our discussion, bring up all the differing viewpoints, express your point, gain consensus, make a motion, and we move on. Okay?
Okay. Next one is section 5.2, provides that if a tie vote results at a time when less than all members of the council are present, the matter shall automatically be continued to the agenda of the next regular meeting unless otherwise ordered by the council. I think that would also be a departure from current practice.
Mr. Mayor?
Yep.
To Councilmember Schultz's earlier comments, I think that's not a great thing to have because that just allows for kicking the can down the road. I think if there's a tie vote, that means we're not in consensus yet. There's work to be done. We still need to talk about it, and moving it to the next meeting, that's just a chronological thing. You're not solving anything by doing that. So I'm not really up for kicking it down.
I think the difference in this situation, because I do agree, is that not all members are present, and that's why it would automatically kick to the next meeting, because now you'd have one more person there, so you'd have one more vote, so you're not going to end up with another tie vote. But I also think that this is, this is a reason, I don't know if to make sure we're at meetings. When there's a vote that's coming that we know there's going to be a vote that could potentially be debated, and we need to be there, or we need to take the steps to do the different procedures that are in place for us to be there virtually if we need to do that, or whatever. But I understand the point of this is that, well, no, it's not just kicking the can down the road. It's getting it to a meeting where hopefully you'll have a full body. But what happens if that next meeting somebody else isn't there, or somebody else, and we run into that situation?
But on tie votes, isn't there that stipulation that the mayor then casts the?
No.
Not in this. It doesn't say anything.
Not on routine,
Oh, not a routine.
right, on some specific matters.
Oh, okay.
But not automatically for all motions, right?
So, Mr. Mayor?
Yep.
I think when I'm reading this through, where it says in line 3, tie votes should be lost motions when all council members are present, I think we can get rid of when all council members are present and just be tie votes are lost motions. And if it's an important enough agenda item, it's going to come back no matter what, because if we don't take action on it, it still has to be decided. So I think that, my opinion is that covers a lot of the different permutations of how that could happen.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
So I guess then that language should just be delete everything after, put a period after tie votes should be lost motions, get rid of when all council members are present. And then, yeah, if a tie vote results in time all the members present, the matter shall maybe continue next, and that's going to happen anyways because there needs to be a decision. And if there's not a decision, then there needs to be some work to make sure that we can actually make a decision that's amenable to everybody, whether, and there's still going to be times where people are still going to vote against it. That's okay. There's nothing wrong with that.
So your proposal is just eliminate the last sentence?
No, my proposal, I mean, we could eliminate that too. Tie vote, yeah, we could, not only the last sentence, the last part of that sentence, and actually we could just say, release that whole part, the last 3 lines, that last sentence, yeah, so yes.
But you wanted to say tie vote shall be.
We lost motions, period, and then get rid of everything else after that. Does that make sense?
Yep, I'm on board with that.
Councilmember Schultz, you had a question on 4.3?
Yes, 4.3, we skipped over that one there. Addressing the council. Reading through the minutes this evening, one of the things is an anonymous person brought something like that forward. I am not a fan of anonymous submissions to council. If it's important enough to you to make a submission, I think it's important enough for you to identify who you are. I don't think that's bad. And so that kind of addressing the council, because one of the things that we do here also is we are still accepting, which was something that's put into place when we did virtual meetings, we're accepting letters from the public. So they could just put in anything they wanted to, and then we're taking it in. So anybody from anywhere could put in anonymous. So I don't know that that's part of this, but I think it's important to set a rule that you have to identify yourself. Like we ask people, because we have seen times where people refuse to do that. We all know who some of the people are that tend to do that. But I think that that's important to make sure that for everybody reading the minutes, to know who is saying what they're saying. And I take that a step further, and it's not included in this document, but I don't really see that there's a need to accept anonymous. I don't necessarily want to take away the ability to submit letters, but I don't like the anonymous part of it. It just, anybody could do it. I mean, anybody could send in 17 letters if they wanted to, but I don't think we should accept anonymous stuff. I think people should be, if they want to talk about it, they should be willing to identify themselves to the entire community. I think that's important. Also, in archiving this for the minutes, I think it's important to have that.
Yep, Mr. Mayor, and I would actually, and it may already do this, but I'd go a step further and have a residency requirement to that, because that makes a difference. Are you actually from the community, or are you from outside of the community? And if you're from outside of the community, what's your
Could be a
interest?
business owner.
The problem with the residency requirement is, it would discourage people from participating in public hearings because they have vested interest as far as a business owner here. So I get where you're going to with that. The residency requirement just kind of it cuts certain people off from being able to speak.
And I think there's some potential legal concerns with that as well.
Yeah, so is there a way to at least have like the community part, knowing if somebody's from Osseo or outside of Osseo? Again, just to, it's not like I'm envisioning a bunch of agitators coming in, but how do we know, right?
Well, it would be included on if we left the addressing the council form, it would be included on there, which we're supposed to have, but.
Yeah, because I don't.
And it's simple. I mean, otherwise, how do people get back to us? Like, we want to deal with some of these things, but we don't know how to get back to them.
Mayor, council, just to keep in mind is maybe some direction to staff, or if you want us to come with some ideas, just how we handle that. As far as we have a form, the yellow form back there that name, address, what you're going to be discussing, connections, emails, phone numbers. If you do put this in there and we're going to enforce it, then that is, it says in here, the mayor calls on people. So that would be, you hand them in to me, I give them to the mayor then goes through them. I mean, we just need to know the process that you would like us to do.
Let me just ask a question. Of the people that addressed us from matters from the floor, how many people filled out that form?
None tonight. But if we're
Typically, that
going to
form
do
was-
that, then that's what's going to be required.
I thought the form was always there for if they wanted additional follow-up.
It's true, but that was part of some of your conversation was
Yeah.
we don't have anybody to follow up with or, you know,
Yeah.
giving a name and an address. And it says, I think if I read this correctly, if I'm not mistaken, it says the mayor and present it to the clerk. Now, you know, we could get rid of that language. I'm just, you know, addressing the council, fill out the address the council form, present it to staff, and the mayor will call the individual and that agenda item is discussed or call for public comment. I mean, if that's that's the structure that's in here right now. So I just wanted you to make sure that we'd have to figure out a process to do that if you wanted it exactly this way. You could change that and just say, if you're addressing the council, give your name and whatever, but that's fine too. I'm just, the way it's written right now,
Yeah, because the yellow form is so the staff can connect with you after tonight's meeting.
yep. I mean, we could create a form that they fill out and give to us if you wanted. That's just a process.
One thing that a lot of cities do is they just have a little card that people fill out, name, address, and then they would give it to city administrator, which would then give those to the mayor. And then when it's time for matters from the floor, you would say, Mr. So-and-so, come on up, and you go through. So then you have a record of everybody speaking. That's
like that.
helpful. That's helpful for minutes. It's also helpful for follow-up, if there's any follow-up with the individual speaking. That's a pretty common practice in a lot of the cities that I've worked with.
I don't think it's a very robust fix to anything. It's just, you know, you fill out a card, you give it there, and it gets over here. It needs to be submitted prior, and then we just run through it.
Then the question for council again is then if somebody doesn't want to fill it out, how do you want us to handle that?
And it was just,
They'd be out of order.
well, and I was just kind of ruminating about that right now. And it seems to me, just logically, you can't recognize anonymous. How do you formally, how do I recognize anonymous? We can't. So you can't be anonymous. And they go, well, I have a right to be anonymous. Sure, but you can't recognize anonymous. It's in the ether. You don't exist until you exist.
And we currently are recognizing anonymous people.
Yeah, we are. Absolutely. This would be a change. And I don't mind making the change. I just would like what you want us to do.
I personally think it's a worthwhile change.
I would agree with that. I mean, we're not restraining anybody from doing anything. I mean, you have to be somebody to say something, right? Anonymous is like, what are you trying to conceal?
If that's what you would like, then I will probably make an announcement before the meeting, a couple minutes before, just if you want to speak to the council matters from the floor. We're now requiring you to fill out this card. You can turn it in to me or Alicia, whoever's here, to a staff person, and then we can give it to the mayor to be called up for that time.
And it doesn't necessarily pertain to matters from the floor. It could pertain to all the different times that they can speak. And it would help also align to make sure that people don't get glassed over because they're not familiar with rules, procedures. You would just call them up.
What, Mayor, one thing you might want to consider is this document will come back to council for approval at the next meeting. You could make an announcement at that meeting about the new process and then implement it at the following meeting, just so that people have a little warning and education about
Yeah.
the process that will be
Yeah, because it
followed.
won't, I mean, that meeting, we won't have adopted it
Right.
to be able to
Yeah.
be enforced yet. So just procedurally, that would happen.
And I also think, too, anybody that is going to try to fall on their sword about anonymity and anonymous, those folks also have the ability to get out a pen and paper and write it down. If you want to be anonymous, just drop your note off at City Hall and make your voice heard anonymously. We're not going to recognize something that doesn't exist in this forum. There's another forum if you want to be anonymous. Write a note, Leave it at the door.
Okay, I think that covers everything. The last bullet point was about the 3-minute limit again.
And actually, the way that it's written in there is almost exactly what we
Right.
did. We said we wanted to do previously, which was generally each speaker will be allocated 3 minutes with applicants or their designated representatives may be allowed more time. If many speakers are anticipated, the mayor may shorten time limits or ask speakers, to limit themselves. It really gives flexibility.
Yeah.
It puts it kind of on. So it kind of actually does what we had just talked about.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, that's all that I had.
So I do have a couple other ones. Page 123, letter C. I think that was it here. Let me see.
Which
here. Yep.
section?
So it's under, it's on page 123 of the packet. See, it says here, the council may provide staff direction on matters that come before the council. I know that it was pointed out that this rule was brought over from a charter city. My comments is I think that speaks to the understanding that the council works together to direct staff. I mean, so that's kind of how we function anyways. I believe the language may be reassuring to council and to spare us the past dramatics where we have an experienced member asserting that they asked for something that was not done. And that just is not, doesn't have a time here for us, in my opinion.
And Mayor, Councilmember Schultz, I think this originally said that the council may not,
Okay.
and that was,
So this language is okay.
yes.
Okay.
Because
I'm fine with that.
Brooklyn Park has a city manager, and so their council does not have any authority over staff. So,
Yeah.
there's the,
I like the language as it's currently included.
right. So this, I think this was amended.
Yeah.
The next one down, same page, letter F. The recommendation there, I don't know if it's still, is that it's old language or current language, but I understand the point of this language, but I like it the way it's written. So, I mean, it's included there. If anybody wants to do any deletions from it, by all means, feel free to. Page 124. Where is that place? Where is that 124 one? I don't know what I meant there because I didn't delete it. It says, plays the fairness aspect, respect for all attending the meeting, leave in. So is there, oh yeah, here it is. It's 6.3.1 under public meetings and A. I like the language the way that it is. I know there's a comment there and the word time is in there. I think we covered that already. I wanted to move ahead now to page 129.
Can I just
Sure.
interrupt you real quick?
Sure.
Can we go back to letter L in the 6.2? The don't spring surprises on council members or city staff, especially at formal meetings. I understand the intent behind that. I think it's a very vague statement in the sense of who determines whether or not it's a surprise or not. What I don't know. I mean, if there's something that comes up in my research of an item that I don't get a chance to talk to other council members about, or I'm not really supposed to talk to other council members about, or that I don't get a chance to get back to, and now is that going to be considered a surprise, and I'm going to be out of line for that? Does that make sense? What I'm saying, like,
Kind of does. I think though through Robert's Rules of Orders that in that type of a situation that could be ruled out of order by the mayor.
what could be ruled out of order?
Surprises and different types of things.
Yeah, but my question is, who? I mean, the mayor determines whether or not it's a surprise or not. Like,
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, the running of the meeting falls on the mayor. Now, there are provisions within Robert's Rules where the mayor can be hijacked, if you will, in some of that stuff. But I understand the surprise part and the intention of the language. I just don't know how to either.
I mean,
I like that it's in there. I just got to figure out then how that.
I
makes
think
sense.
I thought we addressed it earlier in a way that to me made more sense than this particular statement, which was, we are encouraged to communicate with city staff ahead of time
Can't do that though
About-
between council.
Yeah, we can't do that, but I mean, as far as like about pertinent issues to upcoming meetings or, something like that. I think this comes off, in my opinion, kind of.
I think that could be softened.
Is that, I mean,
Yeah.
am I-
Yeah, I was
If you
actually
wanted to
gonna
say,
just
try to,
recommend
try to avoid springing surprises
Yeah.
on your fellow council members.
I was actually going to say it should be
questions.
more aspirational.
Yeah,
The language should be more
I would
aspirational.
I'd be
not
open to seeing some
definitive.
softening language on that.
I would honestly just take out the word surprises and that council members are encouraged to communicate with city staff ahead of time about pertinent issues or something like that. I just don't. To me, the word surprises is just a broad, general. I mean, I don't know what that
You're out of line.
what that means. Yeah, I mean, what that means.
Sometimes
I
that needs to be done.
Like.
So do you
Me
have
br-
any
Me bringing
suggestions?
this up, me bringing letter L up when it wasn't
That
on
was
the
a surprise.
list
Yes.
is
out
a
of order.
surprise. Am I out of order for doing that?
Do you have any suggested language for the city attorney to consider?
That's what I just said. I mean, I just said that something about encouraging council members to communicate with city staff ahead of meetings about issues or questions they might have about upcoming issues.
She's got it. That's
So,
good.
Mr. Mayor, in a way, this is almost redundant because the section title is council conduct with city staff, and we addressed that earlier with the language, right? I mean, the addition of putting other council members into L, I mean, technically doesn't even fit because this is rules related to council conduct with city staff. You see what I'm saying? So it's redundant. I don't think we even need it. We already addressed it earlier.
I think that was related to the consent agenda specifically.
That was specifically related to.
Okay.
I understand, but
So
I do think
so duplicate.
the softening language.
I do think you're right. I don't know that council members can even be in there, can it? Because I can't. I mean, I could talk to one of you, but I can't.
Well, I think this is addressing at the meeting itself, like we've
Right.
seen before, where council member spring surprises and
Purposely trying to derail the.
And I
move the agenda. and-
100% understand the intent of it.
Right.
I
Or
totally
to embarrass staff,
Yeah.
Right.
by
totally get
Yeah.
that.
bringing
I
something
just-
up that you didn't give them notice of.
Just thinking
Right.
such a formal document, it stood out to me as this like. I don't know.
I'd be
I don't know
open,
if
I'd be
petty's
open
the
to hearing what the counselor
Yeah.
Yeah.
suggests
Agreed.
and your suggestions.
Okay.
All right, sorry.
It's okay.
Back to you.
We'll take it by 124. So I'd like to move to 129, where it talks about reporting code of conduct violations. So Don, I'm just looking through this flow chart down here, when it talks about how to report, council members report to the mayor, city administrator, city attorney, staff report to city administrator, community report to city administrator, council member. There's really not, I mean, I think it puts the mayor in a uniquely difficult position, specifically as it relates to any type of concerns expressed towards the city administrator. And so what we've kind of done, I mean, my suggestion on looking at something like that is to add language regarding reporting violations to city administrator. They're not currently included. I think rather than the mayor being involved in all reporting procedures, triage, because we have subcommittees that are in place for certain types of items that we're dealing with. So I think the triage should involve the most appropriate subcommittee, and that can be assigned by the mayor if they want to in that type of a situation, or it can be suggested by the city attorney. Because we have had a situation before, not with this city administrator, but with a former one, where there was really nothing that was said about how we're supposed to do that. So that ended up going to the city attorney, who then brought it to the HR committee to deal with that kind of situation. I think we should, since we're doing that, we should somehow put some language that adds clarity to that process. I think that's fair.
No, that makes sense.
And I like the idea of going to the subcommittees because that's exactly the purpose of the subcommittee, right?
So I think, but it's here, decision-making could be given to the city administrator to determine an ad hoc committee. So for example, if the mayor is involved in this and they don't, and we have to have a way around the mayor because, for example, if it's a risk management or any other type of a situation, if the mayor is involved in that, then they can't really be on the committee. So if the city administrator determines that he needs to pull together an ad hoc committee, that he be given discretion under this language to appoint that for consideration, because it's not a formal thing. It gives him the flexibility, like, what am I supposed to do with this, to make that decision, and then the committee could come across. But I think then we also need to include the basis to create said ad hoc committees somewhere in this document. So whether that's now or where, I think that's my last point, is like, how does this go down the chain? And I think this is the opportunity for us to add clarity. That's what I'm saying. I think you understand what I was trying to get at with
Yep.
this. So
Know exactly what you're saying.
if you understand the intent, Mary, I'd look for you to craft something that expresses that in this document.
I do, yep.
That's my last one. Sorry to drag that on, but this is a big document that really requires attention to it, so.
May I just quickly summarize so I
Yes.
make sure I understand that? I think what you were saying, Councilmember Schultz, is that you want the city administrator to have the ability to refer a matter to an ad hoc committee?
Yes.
Okay,
And it may be an established committee. He might have to make up one because the subject matter could be a member of the
Subcommittee.
natural subcommittee, so he needs to be able to have the flexibility to determine where to go with it.
okay.
Yep.
Councilmember Schultz, just for my clarity too, for the document, then if it's about city administrator, they go to the mayor and they put it to an ad hoc, or they have the ability. Is that something else you were talking about? I'm sorry, I might have.
Yeah, I understand. It's a little confusing, but I'm not exactly sure how to word that. I think that the counselor has my intentions, and I think she can put something together, and then you guys can review it before it comes back.
But that's one of your worries, though, is about if the city administrator is the subject of the.
It's not a worry. It's just
But I want you to keep in mind, this document is about council conduct,
yep.
Yeah.
right? Not city administrator conduct.
But I think then, so as a part of this, I think that and I know that we have briefly touched on this at HR, but that we need to add some additional clarification somewhere, and I just don't know where to put that in. Whether it's this document or it's a
Mr.
personnel
Mayor.
policy or.
Mr. Mayor and Councilman Schultz, we're working on that internally right now, and we'll be running that by Mary, and we're also working with the HR committee. We have a meeting coming up here tomorrow, I think, and so we'll be talking. That's one of the subjects I'd like to go over, is kind of a tree like this, but in policy, so that we have a pretty firm grasp on how those work.
Yep. And that's, like I said, that was my intention, to make sure that it's reflected appropriately here and reflected appropriately throughout the staff in general.
And that's in the works. So we'll be working with HR on that. And Mary, obviously.
Council, any other comments?
Just one quick comment. And on the agenda, it says approve elected rules, procedure, and code of conduct. Is this just a approve or suggest change? Is more of a review?
We'll bring this
than
back
approve?
for
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So
So there's no motion or anything?
There's no motion needed on this.
And we don't need a motion, do we? I mean, but should we table it or just let it lay?
No, I don't need a motion on this.
No. Okay, all right, and you're good?
Good.
Okay. With that, moving on. 9C, approve purchase of computer for city council and staff.
Mayor, council, now we're back again with computers. And I think we narrowed it. It says council and staff, but we narrowed it to where we'd like you to make a decision on the council, what you're comfortable with as far as computers. I don't even know, to be honest with you, if all of these are available right now because of the tariffs and everything that's going on. This is like, the pricing might be different. But we need to make a decision so I can move on and we can purchase something for you. And then I think once we do that and we have kind of an outline of where you fit, then I will go to staff individually, because we use these computers every day, all day long. I mean, mine travels home, back, forth, everywhere. And so I want to make sure I have kind of that personal fit. And then we'll bring it back to you to approve each individual person that needs a computer and that we need to update, or I might just do an update of mine because I still like it. It still works fine. So there's going to be some decisions made that way, and we will obviously ask for your permission to do that. But I'd like to take this item. I know there's been a lot of discussion over time about this item, and I'd really like to get this going and talking with Brad with Windows 10 kind of starting to be done and not supported. I'd like to make a decision if we can tonight and move this forward and just make the purchase.
Mr. Mayor.
Yep.
So to that end, I think that when we're looking at purchasing computers, I think it behooves us to purchase the computer that is at state of the art right now. You know, as whatever the pricing point might end up being, choosing the lowest one. But my recommendation here is that we look at the 32 gigabyte options of either of them, seeing where that falls in, because that would help us ensure that that's just one more generation that's moving forward, and that gives us greater longevity with the actual piece of equipment. So to that end, I would just, you know, ask the council to support whether it ends up being the Dell Ultra 7 or the Lenovo Ultra 7. I just, you know, we all use these computers differently, including staff. And so just my recommendation is we just choose the one that's the most cost effective, but also the latest generation.
Mr. Mayor?
Yep.
So is it possible to decline one of these if a particular council member is fine with the one that they have? And the end of life for Windows 11, mine, we're talking about me obviously, mine has Windows 11, and Windows 11 is not going to go to end of life. It will go to end of life after at least my initial 4 years. So quite frankly, this thing's been in its bag. I was out for 1 week when I first was sworn in. It hasn't been out of the bag since then. I just, not in good conscience, can support, at least for myself, getting a replacement for this when it will serve its purpose for a long time. So I'm not sure if we can even do that, just reduce the buy by one.
We can.
It saves something.
That's up to council.
Yeah, I agree. To your point, it's like, you know, one of the reasons that these don't get used as much is they're just large, cumbersome items that if it was more portable, it would be more accessible to us. Takes up less room on your desk when you got 18,000 other things on your desk. You know, any of us, I think, could decline, but then another councilman comes in might have a different feeling about that. I mean, I know I keep getting on my computer here, you know, this qualifies for Windows 11, this qualifies for this. And for me, I think that it would be a much more useful tool if it was more portable, more accessible for us. That's just my point. So, I mean,
Mr. Mayor and Councilmember Torres, it is easier to buy them in bulk. It is easier to have everybody with the same technology, just for staff and for IT. So they're not checking different computers, and then we're like, well, we bought them 4 years ago, but now Councilman Torres needs a different one, and whoever's in that chair. I just think if we do them all, we do them all. We have one available. You know, something could happen, Councilmember Torres, where you had to leave and somebody else wants something different. I just think that it's in our best interest to try to keep at least your group together and the same kind of retention schedule or same schedule of replacement. I just think that makes sense. I know you may not use it, and that may be the same somewhere else, but at least we have them available if something were to happen.
Yeah, and that's absolutely fair. So yeah, I mean, I'm not opposed to what's being presented here, and if anything, just staff can know that my new one is available if somebody else's goes down. Think of it as a floater that I happen to be carrying around in a bag.
for us or for
that makes
staff, I
sense.
mean, any of these types of things could have something there, and having the asset laying around. I mean, even some of these that could upgrade to Windows 11, I would think that there would be some opportunities for staff as theirs fall off. Maybe they want this, maybe they want whatever. It's just going to sit there for waiting for that. But if we are going to hang on to some of these, then we need to upgrade them to Windows 11. But for this purpose, I think I agree, well, I don't think, I know I agree with City Administrator on this.
Yeah.
I don't know
I'm
this.
Not opposed to it.
No, in 16 years, this is only my second computer. So there's longevity to these machines.
No, I'm not opposed, so.
So I think the spirit of this motion for direction would be, I'd like to make a motion to approve the purchase of, how many, you want 5?
Yes, please.
Okay, 5 computers at the lowest reasonable cost with Ultra 7 processors, 32 gigabytes.
Not naming a brand.
No, because to the city administrators think some of these prices will have changed. And so I want him to have the flexibility to make this decision and not bring it back to us again.
And availability could potentially
Yep.
change too.
So that's my
Okay,
motion.
so we have a motion by Councilmember Schultz to purchase the 5 computers with the Ultra 7 32 gigs at whichever deems to be the lowest price.
The lowest price.
Okay.
I mean, amongst these ones that we,
Yeah.
but yeah, so that.
Yep. Okay, is there a second?
I'll second that.
Second by Councilmember Schultz. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes 4-0. All right, 10A, 2025 Street Maintenance Project. Welcome. Thank you for your patience.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Before you this evening is a proposal to prepare plans and specifications and request quotes for the 2025 maintenance project. About a month ago, the council discussed pavement maintenance at a work session. We had a great conversation and appreciate council's direction with regards to pavement maintenance. For 2025, we are proposing to fill cracks from the street improvement projects done in 2012 and 2014, and then do a chip and fog seal on the streets from the 2018 and 2019 street improvement project. And just to refresh council's memory, a chip seal is what had been done historically in town, and what was happening is those little rock chips were coming up and peeling off. And by putting a fog seal on top of it, it's just it's an extra layer to get those rock chips down, so we're not seeing that peel off. We've seen some success from that, and that came from our pavement group as a recommendation to the council. So with that, included in your packet is the proposal from WSB to perform that. We're estimating that the work would be under the threshold for competitive bids. So we would go and we would reach out to the contractors that we reached out to last year for pavement maintenance to get quotes, and then bring that back to council at a future meeting if council approves what's being presented this evening. We did include in the proposal both the preparation of the quote package and answering contractor questions through quotes, and then also construction services as well, so that council has an idea of what the full fee would be for this type of project, and it represents approximately 10% of the recommended budget for this project. So with that, I would be happy to answer any questions that the council has about the proposed project and the fees or anything else that we've discussed previously.
Thank you. Questions, council? No questions? Is there a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve resolution number 2025, whatever. Resolution authorizing preparation, distribution of a quote package for the proposed 2025 pavement maintenance project.
Okay, a motion by Councilmember Schultz to approve the street maintenance, the proposal to prepare plans and specs and authorization distribution of the quote package. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilmember Cook. Any further discussion? Not Attorney Teacher, please.
Thank you, Mayor. This is resolution number 25. Councilmember Cook?
Aye.
Councilmember Torres?
Aye.
Councilmember Schultz?
Aye.
Mayor Poppy?
Aye, motion passes 4-0.
Thank you.
10B, approve pavement and settlement agreement with curbside waste for city light pole reimbursement.
Mayor and council, this has been a long time coming. So on March 10th, 2023, On November 14th, 2024, Curbside Waste was doing refuse pickups here in town. Their trucks hit our same streetlight pole twice. Once was the full pole, that was in 2023. And then in 2024, it was the top of the pole came off. Both incidents were caught on camera, fully investigated by our police department. The city of Osseo incurred a total of $12,219.26 in damages. There's been a lot of back and forth with the company and involvement of our attorneys, and we came to this resolution to try to resolve this as quickly as we can, and also they're self-insured, so I think it's over a certain amount they have to pay for internally, so they were kind of changed tune pretty quickly, and we thought that this was a viable option for the city to retrieve our money before we go to court.
Okay. Questions, council?
Mr. Mayor, so I guess the concern I have is about the self-insurance, and this may be something that just has to get pushed off, but that aspect of it. But the concern comes when, okay, this time they hit a light pole twice and they're self-insured. What happens when they hit into a person and they're self-insured?
Councilmember Torres, maybe I misspoke. It's not self-insured, but they've got a deductible, high deductible, like $25,000 or $30,000, and then they have insurance. I apologize.
Okay.
That's probably not the right. That was me with my language, and not. But they have a higher deductible, so this falls under their deductible. Falls more on them having to pay it. So I apologize for that.
No worries, and totally understandable. And that absolutely answers the question, because I'm like, wow, how do you ever come in like this self-insured?
Well, and to your point, if they smoke a pedestrian or somebody else, that's a whole other legal process that we don't necessarily need to be involved in.
I guess the only other comment I have is it seems like, big company, big money. I know hauling garbage, you can make some pretty decent money hauling garbage. And it's like, okay, so 12 grand compared to, what's your, what do you guys net a year? What do you guys gross a year? I don't know. It just seems like spreading something off for a whole year at $1,000, but I wasn't there for the negotiations, so I don't know. I mean, I'm going to trust staff obviously is in that, and I'm going to defer to their, so it just again on the record, just seemed kind of weird. A big company like that can't just write a $12,000 check, but I wasn't there, so I don't know.
Mr. Mayor?
Yep.
I'm going to make a motion to approve the payment settlement agreement with Curbside Waste.
Okay, I got a motion by Councilmember Schultz to approve the payment and settlement agreement with Curbside. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilmember Cook. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes 4-0. All right, 10C, approved purchase of police investigator vehicle.
Mayor, Council, I'm going to turn this over to Lieutenant Kinsey. He's done the research.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. In front of you tonight, we are proposing to purchase a vehicle for our soon-to-be deployed investigator, which we're hoping to have in the next month or so. I've researched available vehicles that are on the market right now from the state cooperative contract price that's been negotiated through the state, and came up with a couple of different vehicles that would suit our department, our needs, and taking into consideration the big thing, which is what they cost. And we felt that the Ford Maverick pickup truck would probably suit our department best. It's versatile. There's times that we'll need to use a pickup truck to haul some items around that are too big to fit into our squad cars. One good example would be the Toys for Tots. We pick up all those toys, and right now it's multiple trips to each place to pick up those toys because they just don't fit in our cars. In fact, the boxes don't even fit at all. I have to get a truck from Public Works. So having a pickup truck would kind of be dual purpose for us. It would help our department out when we need to move large items. And then too, since a detective is more of an undercover position, we need to have a vehicle that doesn't look like a police car that can blend into the community. When we receive this type of vehicle, it will go to our outfitter and it will get outfitted with lights and sirens and stuff, so it can still respond to emergency calls if needed, which would be very rare. But if we had a major incident, they might have to use their lights and sirens. So it's still, and it's a police officer driving it, so that they would still be able to respond if something were major were to happen. I guess, like I said, I also took into consideration the cost. I looked at the state contract and tried to find something that was economical for the city, and I just felt this was a good fit. Any questions?
Yeah. Questions, council?
Mr. Mayor.
Yeah.
So earlier today you were forwarded a document from the city administrator regarding some of the state bid options that were out there when we looked at the overall cost of it. My primary question was, it came up where I really looked at it as an undercover vehicle for the police department. Depending upon how they use it, I mean, there's not a lot of Ford Mavericks on the road. So I think that from an undercover perspective around the city, I would take like 3 seconds for someone to figure out who we are. So I kind of wanted to go towards something different. I understand where the lieutenant had talked about, Toys for Tots, that kind of stuff. And in a situation like that, I totally get it. We've got larger vehicles that we can use to haul that stuff we can borrow from someplace else. I'm not going to die on this hill. So, I mean, in the end, I think that if we're talking about, the 40,000 price, there's other ones that are on there. I know like Champlin, for example, for their investigator car, I think they use like a Nissan Maxima or Altima or something like that. In the past, they've used like Jeeps and whatever kind of stuff. It just looks like other cars on the road, specifically speaking to the undercover part of it. But like I said, I'm not going to cause a huge stink. That was just my concerns regarding the numerous conversations I had today.
And another factor to take into consideration too is other vehicles. Well, let me back up. The Ford Maverick I know is available right now to order. A lot of different vehicles, you call the dealership up and then they'll tell you that you can't right now. They're just, the factories could be retooling. So it's a matter of what's available at the time, and it's a factor too. And I know this vehicle is available right now.
Yep.
Mr. Mayor?
Yep.
I've sat up here before and said, I don't believe in micromanaging, and we need to trust the heads of our departments to do the things that they feel like they need to do for their department. And I feel like this is one of those things. Now, that being said, I think in my opinion, what we should do is we should approve up to a certain dollar amount, and then whatever they want to go get with that, they go get with that. What they feel, what the people who are going to be doing the job feel is the best situation, then allow them to pursue that. Makes the most sense to me, as opposed to, like Councilman Short said, try to get into like, well, we could debate, this car versus this car, this model versus this model. I'm not going to be using it, so what I don't really have much of an opinion on what models they get and this and everything. It sounds like the money is in the budget. It's in the capital improvement plan, and so I would like to see us basically approve the purchase of the police investigator vehicle up to X amount of dollars, and then move on as far as from the specifics, I guess. Seems to me.
Mr. Mayor?
Yep.
Yeah, I would be totally good with that as well. Albeit in full transparency, I haven't bought a new car since 2000. As anybody who knows me sees the vehicles that I drive. So whatever this body decides is the right amount, I'm going to defer to the rest of you to tell me what that amount is, and I will trust you guys with that. So I'm in favor of Councilmember Cook's idea of like giving the amount, let the experts buy what they need to buy with that amount. But I just wanted to give full disclosure. I have no clue what new cars even cost anymore.
They're not cheap.
I've heard that. I've heard that there's a tariff or something going on too, and availability is kind of tricky.
I said it's close. My next car is probably going to cost more than what I owe on a mortgage. So
That's why I have old cars.
we get a good deal.
Okay, council? Someone like to make a motion?
Mr. Mayor,
Yep.
I would like to make a motion to approve the purchase of an unmarked police investigator vehicle at an estimated cost of $40,000.
Okay, got a motion by Councilmember Cook to approve the purchase at an estimated cost of $40,000. Is there a second? The motion fails for lack of a second. Is there a new motion that would like to be put out there?
Mr. Mayor, just so it's understood, the only reason I'm not seconding or voting is because I literally don't know what the right number is. I look to the rest of you to kind of help guide me in that. I mean,
Can I
Lieutenant
add a little bit
Kenzie.
So the figure that I kind of came up with, that $40,000 mark, that is not just the cost of the vehicle. That is the vehicle, the tax, title, license, and the upfitting cost, which is around $7,400 just to have the emergency equipment put into it. So that's kind of the whole ball of wax. That's not just the price of the vehicle. The car itself is about $29,000.
So are there other thoughts on cost numbers? I mean, obviously 40 wasn't the right number.
As I pointed out, you were emailed a document this afternoon that outlined many different prices of vehicles for reference.
No, I saw that, and I saw that there was what I saw more was how there was, if we go to the state, they didn't have any available, and then there was the availability from various dealerships, but then there was a used one or something from another, or it wasn't used, but it was one that was not going to be used. It was purchased
Sure.
by another jurisdiction, and they
Correct.
decided they were going to use it.
So one of the options that came up was like looking maybe a full size pickup truck. So I called was Ford at Hibbing that has a state contract for fleet vehicles, and I kind of told him what we're looking for, and he goes, "Well, I have a 2023 that's brand new, was purchased by I think it was a fire department, and they never claimed it, so they still have it." He was going to give me a price on it. I have no idea what that number is. I'm going to guess it's in the 40s, but I don't know. But that was what they call a special service package. It's a full-size vehicle, full-size pickup truck, but it's meant for more of a like a specialty unit, like a SWAT team or a fire department use or something. They're not pursuit-rated vehicles, but it is technically more geared for like a commercial use. And that was one option that they had, but that's. And then there's also some other vehicles that I had on that I kind of put together a list. I looked at state contract today, but again, I can call the dealership to order one. They may tell me yes or no, and I don't know what the terms are. If there's additional items that we need to purchase for them, I don't know. So it's specific per vehicle.
And a follow-up, I think I remember reading something about there's fleet pricing, but there was something that wasn't exactly working out for the best. Or how does the fleet pricing?
I guess the price of the vehicles, the base price, that's something that the state has negotiated with each vendor for that
Okay.
the price of the vehicle. So they're cheaper than MSRP. So a good example, I think we paid like $36,000, $37,000 for our Dodge Durangos that we purchased. When the last one just came here, they got delivered last month. It has the factory window sticker on it. It was I think $50,000. So we're getting a good discount on them. And honestly, this pickup truck, I haven't gone to a dealership and looked at what the window sticker is, to be honest with you. So I don't know what the difference is between the state contract and what it retails for.
I actually did just a real quick Google search, and they were between 28 and 38, depending on whatever little stuff that the dealership was putting on it. This is just a real bad time to buy anything.
Mr. Mayor.
Yep.
In looking at, the list of prices we've got on this entire list, which I did look at today when that email came through, the lowest price vehicle on that list is a Ford Escape at $24,124. The proposal that he, showed us with the Maverick is the base price of the vehicle is $29,260. It's a difference of about $5,000.
And that's including all with the options.
Right.
The options,
To, you know,
Right.
28. The
And I
base.
don't know what those options would cost on a SUV. You'd have
Correct,
to,
correct.
And again, it's availability. I don't know if that's
My point is when we're talking about, a $30,000 to $40,000 purchase. Really, either way, like if you go with the lowest number that we saw, or this other one, it's going to be, when it's all said and done, it's going to be a $30,000 to $40,000 purchase. So if we want to change the number, we can change the number. That's fine. It's when we're talking about a significant purchase, we're talking about the difference of about $5,000 between what they're asking for and what the lowest number that I saw today. And so, that's just a real quick. I'm open to other numbers. Somebody just needs to put one out there, I guess.
So, Mr. Mayor, the Jeep Compass, and refresh my memories, the Jeep Compass is the Jeep, like, weird.
Smaller one.
I think that's a subcompact. I'm
Yeah.
not really sure.
That's what
which
I drive.
it's small, very
It's
small.
good enough for the attorney, hey. No. I was looking at price points, and again, I don't want to try to second guess your guys' job. I'm never going to be able to do that, and I wouldn't want to do that. But I also understand the kind of fitting in, and again, this is my not having any knowledge of the vehicles. I wouldn't have ever known or had considered whether or not a certain vehicle blends in or doesn't blend in, but I do agree that if we're going to put the money out, it should blend in. But it's also not going to be a pursuit vehicle, if I've heard that part right. So it doesn't need to be meaty, beefy, bouncy, right? It can be, to Councilmember Schultz's point, we have other vehicles within the community. I totally understand. I remember when they did pick up Toys for Tots over at the Holiday, and there were several trips because they couldn't fit the stuff that they had into the squads. But if getting something that is more compact but gets the job done, can be fitted for the needs of the investigator. If 40 grand, so let me propose it this way: if 40 grand wasn't available, what is your do you have in your mind some next best? And it's not a fair question to dump on you, so don't take it that way.
No, I understand.
Maybe this is something that we need to go back to the drawing board for a little bit and just see what other options there are. I don't know.
Mayor, council, can I speak up? We've done our research. We've picked a vehicle. We have the money.
Here's my next caveat to that too. When I talked to the Ford dealer about this particular vehicle, he already told me I can't get a hybrid. That's out. And he says that the one we're looking at now, Ford can tomorrow say we're not going to take orders anymore. And he expects that window to be pretty soon. So right now it's still open. So it's like if we kick it on the can down, what you're saying earlier, it's like we're running that risk too. So it's like, what do you do?
And just to put my 2 cents into it, we've done the research. We've talked to our patrol. We've looked at this vehicle. It is one of the highest selling small vehicles right now. There's 200,000 of them getting sold. I just looked that up here today. They're selling 20 to 30,000 a month. That's why we're saying they could just turn around and change. It is, it's available. It's there. You can say that there's not any in the community, but here's the problem: is a lot of our undercover work is not going to be done in Osseo because they find us no matter what. If you sit too long, they're going to know. Everybody knows everybody's cars, right? So you can't look at it that we're doing undercover work here in Osseo. There's nothing. We had a Cadillac that was like a mid-90s Caddy and we had it sitting watching a massage parlor, and they caught us like within 5 minutes. We had 911 calls, right? So when you look at this, it's all the communities, and nobody's ever going to think that this Maverick thing is, because it is kind of odd, would be a police vehicle. It would fit in. We've talked to our patrol. They were involved in what the usage they want, and so we've done the research. Again, $5,000, okay, fine, but those vehicles, especially a Jeep Compass, that's small. It doesn't give us options to use it other ways either if we needed to. Yeah, public works trucks are available at certain times. It all depends. Sometimes they're not. Sometimes we're using a flatbed. Well, that's fun trying to take a big box, down on a flatbed or toys or whatever. So, I mean, we're doing it. This will just give us some other options. And it's also very reasonable, I think, for a quasi pickup truck at that price.
I've
Would
noticed.
people be more comfortable with, instead of estimated cost, not to exceed?
I think that's honestly initially what I intended. I was reading directly from
Yeah. But you feel at 40,000, it should be fitted up.
When I kind of just did the math in my head, I think we can probably come in around 37, 38. But
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
40 is just because you don't know
Yeah.
exactly. I don't know what the title fee is going to be and the tax fee,
Yeah.
and there's those. So I'm just kind of giving a little bit of wiggle room by going kind of the high mark at 40.
And I've actually have noticed, I mean, more recently, like in Maple Grove, I think they got their PD has a pickup truck, right? I've been noticing more pickup trucks actually that are the marked ones anyway. Because I thought, well, that's kind of weird. I've never really seen a pickup truck for a squad car, but I've seen them. So I guess that's not an unusual thing, right?
No, and they're using them typically for CSOs or not patrol. We've seen them for patrol. There's one out there for DWI enforcement and also for TZD, like where they're driving next to people, watching them on their phones, that kind of stuff. So there are undercover pickup trucks around. Again, they're just a different animal, and they're not cheap. If you get a full size, I mean, you're going to pay more than what we pay here.
I would agree. We can't afford to kick it down the road because who knows what's going to happen tomorrow with costs, right?
And I did ask that. I did ask that question too. As well, with these tariffs coming right now, he said so far the prices haven't changed, so we're good for now.
Okay.
I guess fundamentally I'm not opposed.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
I'd like to make a motion.
Sure.
Let's see here. So I say this right this time. To approve the purchase of an unmarked police investigator vehicle up to a cost of $40,000. Not to exceed a cost of $40,000.
Okay, got a motion by Councilmember Cook to approve the purchase of the police investigator vehicle not to exceed 40,000. Is there a second? I'll second that.
I will. Oh, okay. So,
Okay, any further discussion?
So, yeah. I keep falling back, and I don't know what I don't know, but I don't know what I don't know. So again, I'm going to defer to the experts and to my counterparts up here.
Okay. Any further discussion? See none, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes 4-0.
Thank you, guys.
10D, approve reimbursement for attorney's fees for Police Chief Administrator Michelson.
Mr. Mayor and Council, in late 2024 and early 2025, an internal investigation was conducted on me. In my defense, I incurred attorney's fees in the amount of $1,334.25. I have spoke with the Human Resources Committee, which I'm going to turn this over to them, and was asked to put this on the agenda. Also attached as to this memo is a copy of the email from Councilmember Torres for everyone to read, which we did an amendment later to get that up to date. And I'm going to turn that over now to the two HR committee members.
Nick, go ahead.
So, I will preface this with I am obviously nor would I ever try to say that I am expert attorney. I'm about as new as you can get to as an attorney, but like they say, a little knowledge can be a little dangerous. I did my best to look through the statutes that were referenced. And let me take a step back. I started this whole process by looking at the contract. Because when an employee comes to you as an employer and says, hey, I've got this thing, as an employer, I'm going to look at the contract. And when I did look at the contract, I saw provision 8, which was in the First Amendment to Chief of Police employment contract. And in doing so, there was an indemnification clause. In my reading of that indemnification clause, looked to be that if there was an allegation made, and I'm summarizing this, if there was an allegation made and that allegation was found to be by an independent party unfounded, that any costs that that employee took or absorbed could be then reimbursed, which then led me to the statute, which then led me to my interpretation of the statute. My interpretation of the statute led me to bringing forward to the council doing the reimbursement that would be requested up to the amount that the statute allowed for, which if I remember right is $1,500. Again, that's my interpretation of the statute. So after doing that research, that was the email that led me to contact our city attorney, who brought to my attention that we do need to meet a standard, and that standard is that any money that we spend as a body has to be for public use. Well, that's where I put all of this together, and anybody that is interested in this can look at the packet and they can see my opinion of it. But again, that's an opinion based on knowledge that I possess, but not as an acting attorney, because I'm not acting as an attorney in providing this opinion. What I'm doing is taking my knowledge of how all this works together, presenting it to council as a council member, and all that being said, I think that the right thing to do is to pay this, because potentially this could become a contract dispute, and I don't want this to turn into a contract dispute. I don't think it's a good use of time. I don't think it would be good use of money. In fact, it's going to cost a heck of a lot more than $1,500 to get embroiled into a contract dispute. So morally, I look at this as there was an employee of the city. The employee of the city was brought to bear on an accusation. They went through the process. There was due process. The process worked. And at the end of that, several council meetings ago, we announced to the city that the investigation was complete. And having been complete, that employee was exonerated of the allegations, which, full circle, brings me back to Section 8, which refers to Section 18 of the contract, which indemnification then applies, and the request for reimbursement is fair. So I know I said a whole lot. Feel free to ask any questions.
Questions, council?
I don't have anything else to add other than what Mr. Torres said. I see this as us performing the aspect of the contract that we agreed to, specific to some of the allegations that were there qualifying this. So I think that it is, in order for us to follow the contract, I think that we should really consider this seriously, and I would vote to approve it.
No further questions. Would someone like to make a motion?
So, Mr. Mayor,
Yep.
I will make a motion that, and is there a, is this just a motion where we have we don't have one of the so this is not a resolution, right?
No, it's a motion.
So I will make a motion that the city of Osseo reimburse attorney's fees in the amount of $1,334.25 based on my foregoing statements.
Okay, we've got a motion by Councilmember Torres to approve the reimbursement for attorney's fees, the amount of $1,334.25. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Councilmember Schultz. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes 4-0. All right, 10E, approve grant advisor assistance from Millers.
Mayor, Council, I'm going to turn this over to Assistant City Administrator Alicia Vickerman.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. As we've discussed in the past, Osseo is a fiscal year 2024 community project funding grantee. The intended use of those funds is for Boardroom Park expansion, and the amount is $500,000. I've been working on this one for a while and going through the training that we have to do in order to access those funds. And what it comes down to is it's a very involved process for submitting individual projects or entire phases over the course of time. I've reached out to our grant writers and asked just some advice, you know, if they've helped anyone through this process, if they had any advice for me. They looked into the system and they said they were afraid to touch anything. They were afraid to mess it up, basically. So we discussed a little bit more, and we met with Ellers, and they have a lot of experience administering these federal grant funds, specifically through the HUD program that's been changing a lot recently. And so they're able to help us navigate that process. We spoke to Shane Rudlong with Ellers, and he in particular has experience going through these processes, and he said that he provided us with a breakdown of what some services could be to help us get through and access these funds. But also, as we went through the conversation, he made sure to mention that this is something that we can kind of take a la carte as we want, as we need, as we go through the process. So when you look at kind of the minimum and maximum of what the estimates are for what this would cost, there's quite a big variance there, and even 10 hours maximum of miscellaneous, just because there's a little bit of a unknown. We don't know what we don't know until we get to that part of the process. But we do have funds available right now. Those are in the, let's see, under the professional services for planning, and then also within the Parks and Recreation Committee. So there are budgeted funds for some of these professional services, but it is beyond what really we've been able to put a dent in order to access this $500,000. So we're just looking for approval to move ahead and get some professional backup for submitting for those funds.
Thank you. Council questions?
Mr. Mayor. So I think I originally brought up to Assistant City Administrator Vickerman regarding whether we actually accepted the grant appropriately or not. Because, you know, it's nice to go out and say, oh, we're just going to get all this money, but you have to play by the rules to get the money. And I don't know, you know, and it kind of hit my radar through some news item, which was back when the executive orders were flying around. It was like, if you have outstanding agreements with the government and you haven't accepted them, it doesn't commit them to have to pay you. So I appreciate your work looking at this, and, you know, whether it's through professional services, since this is a park project, I'm sure we have park dedication funds available. We'll leave that up to the finances and where the most appropriate fund to pull that information from is. But it's, you know, it's even at the high side, $7,000 or $8,000 to get 500. I mean, seems like a pretty straightforward thing to me, to make sure we're doing it right, because nothing's worse than all of a sudden we go to use this and like, oh, you guys didn't do this. You didn't check this box when you sent in this form, or you didn't send in the form at all, so it's not there anymore. So then we have to go back through everything again. And so I just want to make sure that we've done our job as far as accepting this, and then continue oversight regarding the usage of these funds and make sure it's getting reported correctly. So I think this is a very reasonable and quite frankly, necessary spend.
Mr. Mayor?
Yep.
I would agree. I think, again, you leave things to the experts, right? And thank you, Assistant Administrator Vickerman. You guys and all of staff, you guys work so hard for the city, and it's just a pleasure every time something like this comes in front of us. But at some point, we do know we got to take it to the experts, right? And that managing the experts is where I look to you guys to do, right? Not to actually be grant writers, it's to manage the grant writers. And I think this, as far as what it costs for professional services, I think this is extremely reasonable. I've seen consultancies that are in hundreds of thousands of dollars to put in $8,000 to get 500. I can't think of a better deal than that on return in investment. So, thank you for doing
Mr.
the work
Mayor?
and putting this together.
I would also add in, so I'm currently participating in an ongoing cohort that is helpful as well, just in the training to go through this process. And I've done some of the online courses as well. So of course I'll keep doing those things, but this is just one of those things where it's particularly sensitive that, we don't want to get ourselves backtracked, like you said, for missing a box or for something maybe not meeting certain criteria. We need to make sure that we have that basically perfect from the get-go.
Yep.
That's excellent point.
Okay. With that, would someone like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion. Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to enter an agreement with Ellers for the 2024 CPF Grant Administration Assistance.
Okay, we have a motion by Councilmember Torres to enter an agreement, have staff enter an agreement with Ellers for the grant administration assistant. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilmember Cook. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes 4-0. All right, 10F, approved accounts payable. Questions on that? If not, we look for a motion.
Make a motion to approve the accounts payable.
Okay, got a motion by Councilmember Schultz to approve tonight's accounts payable. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilmember Cook. Any further discussion?
And Mr. Mayor, I'd just like to point out as part of this has to do with the construction payout voucher regarding the 2022 alley reconstruction project. There are certain requirements that we must adhere to based on Minnesota statutes. And I do not believe that we have currently any active negotiation or any complaints against this, because otherwise I'm sure this wouldn't show up here today. So that's the reason for my motion to include that and approve the bills.
Okay, thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes 4-0. Administrator report.
Just would like to say thank you to the Intermarquee Vintage Car Show people that came tonight, and that we are working with them to make sure that we can block off all the whole downtown for them to be here. It's such a great event. We'll have extra staff on duty between CSOs and reserves to handle any issues that may come up with parking or anything like that, and I'll pass. I'm good.
Okay. Assistant Administrator Rickerman.
No report, thank you.
Okay. Council Attorney's report. Attorney TJ.
No report.
Okay. Councilmember Torres.
Just a couple real quick items. I'd like to add some quick thoughts about business licensing. Obviously, that was a big thing tonight, was a big thing at the last meeting. And I kind of made a little prepared statement, so I would make the best use of time. And actions like the one that we took tonight, we unfortunately had to take. And it's important that these are not punitive, but they do send a message loud and clear that we have rules in Osseo. And you heard me say rules a lot tonight. And more importantly, it shows that we as a council and as a city, we're going to enforce these rules. The rules aren't created to hinder businesses, but rather to help the community as a whole. So I'd like to reiterate, we are here to help small business. And I personally feel that small business is the backbone of this nation, and it's also the backbone of a great city. So we do have these rules to ensure safety and comfort for everyone in the city. And if you follow the rules, you'll position yourself and your business for success. The second item I'd like to bring up real quick is how important it is that you attend, as citizens, public hearings. And how I personally, as a council member, use the input from those hearings as well as matters from the floor to help me understand a lot of issues. There's, as you've heard many times tonight, I go, well, I don't know. I don't know what to think about this. What should I think about this? Well, I am going to always listen. I may not agree, but I'm going to listen. And it's imperative that even if you're not comfortable coming up, standing at the podium, absolutely write it in. Drop off a note, do whatever it is, but have your voices heard. As a new person into council, this is just so important for me to understand what's going on. And the only way I can do it is if I hear about it. And absolutely contact me, since I've been put on council, I've had many opportunities to talk to people face-to-face, over the phone, through the email. But a lot of the things that I have discussed with folks, and the people that I have talked to will tell you this. I tell them, please come to the meeting and let everybody know what you're thinking. There's a lot of weird rules with being on city council. One of them is we can't talk amongst ourselves about things. But you, as people in the community, have an opportunity to come up here and start that discussion because we're all here and that's how the rules work. We have to all be here in public to talk about these things. So, in short, just try as much as you can to be involved. I personally appreciate the involvement of the community for both matters of the floor and for hearings. So utilize them. We have a hearing coming up, I know, for the street assessment. We have a lot of differing opinions on that. So come and make your voice heard. And with that, I will pass.
Okay. Councilmember Cook.
No report.
Councilmember Schultz.
Yeah, thank you. So I just, I appreciate what Mr. Torres had to say. I think it was very, there were some great comments there. One of the most challenging things being in city council is that we continue to try to provide avenues for people to give us feedback. They don't often utilize those. Specifically when they're agreeing with something that we're thinking and discussing, we don't get that feedback. I would like to see more of it. A lot of people don't feel comfortable being up here speaking matters from the floor. They feel intimidated by not only the concept of doing it, but also being in front of people that might disagree with their position on certain things. So I just want to encourage, like Councilmember Torres said, that make sure that you're involved. Give us information, send us information, send a note. We're still accepting matters from the floor, submissions electronically. So I think that's really important. As kind of a show of dedication to our business community and residents as a whole, this Intermark spring kickoff that we're putting on now for the 13th year, it's a huge benefit, not only directly to the businesses downtown that particular day, but also the community as a whole. We're introducing a lot of people from different areas into our community that may not have any other reason to be here. And I continue to hear how impressed they are with how we're dealing with it, the resources we have in our city, how nice our city is, et cetera, et cetera. So I definitely think this, by all means, serves a great public purpose and just continues to demonstrate to the community our interest in supporting the community as a whole as well as our business sector. That's it.
Well, thank you. Moving on, announcements, just a couple. Obviously, the Osseo Police and Fire Polar Plunge event will be at the Osseo High School on 5/9. I don't know how much polar plunge that'd be. Classifies as 5/9.
When
We put ice
the
in
fire department fills it from their truck, it's still a polar plunge.
Need some ice maybe in there.
No.
And then we did talk about it, the Intermark Vintage Car Show on 5/17 and also craft fair in the park will be that day too. And then also the citywide garage sale around that time as well. So are we doing maps again for the citywide garage sale?
I believe so, yes. We have a list going of addresses, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so look for that if you want to know. Come check out the garage sales at that. And with that, moving on for number 14, adjournment.
So moved.
Okay, got a motion by Councilmember Cook. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilmember Torres. Non-debatable. All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? Motion passes 4-0. We're adjourned at 9:28. Thank you.